Hello and welcome back. We are going to be talking about the books I read in the month of January, the first month of 2024 that has officially ended. It is February. This month I read a lot of books compared to what I usually read, but I am trying to read a lot more this year. But I also feel like I finished a lot more than usual because I did my 24-hour reading challenge and I got a lot of those books done in that challenge. I have 6 physical books and then I also listened to 2 audiobooks this month. When I pulled out these books, wait a second. I don't even, that feels like 2 months ago. How was that of this month? This month has really felt long but still flew by. Does that make sense? I don't know. We're gonna start with our first one. I read Never by Jessa Hastings. Now, I have not read any of her other books. I know that the Magnolia Parks series is what she's really known for. I do want to read that series, but I heard a lot of hype around this book, just like the cover alone. I want a poster of this. It's so pretty. I love the little details, how even Peter Pan is up here. This is basically about Daphne, who is a distant granddaughter of Wendy from Peter Pan. It's a Peter Pan retelling. Wendy is actually her great-grandmother. Great-great-grandmother. She's up there. Every time that Peter Pan comes, it happens to all the generations of those girls. So they're like, okay, Daphne, Peter Pan's gonna be coming, you're coming of age. He's gonna be coming to your window, but he's a little late. She's a little bit older than what she's supposed to be. And also, Peter Pan is a little older than what he's supposed to be. Kind of like a love triangle situation. The other man in this story is Captain Hook's son. I love retelling of Peter Pan stories. It does leave you on a cliffhanger. There is supposed to be another book. I'm not sure if she's gonna make a full-on series or there's just gonna be a duology. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the only reason that this book sold me and I actually could pay attention and get into it, I read this out loud for me and my friend, and I used a British accent. Call it cringe. I don't care, but reading this in a British accent really helps. The only thing that I didn't like is when Jameson Hook, whenever he would talk, it's supposed to be that piratey speaking. Sometimes it was hard to figure out what he was saying because it's so piratey, where I'm like, okay, I have no idea what he's trying to say, and I'd have to skip through. So sometimes that would make me anxious. I think I rated this pretty high, being surprised that everyone rating it kind of low. I appreciated it. I definitely liked it. That's our first book that we read for January. Then we have The Cruel Prince. I'm just going to put the whole series in here because I did read the whole entire series of this month. I was going to do a whole video kind of explaining this trilogy, but I changed my mind because I have a lot to say, but it's also hard to explain. And I feel like if you're wanting to read this, go for it. It's definitely not a romantasy, which is what I was kind of expecting. I kind of went in with no expectations. I just went into it. It's a lot of world building and just all fantasy. There's a smidgen of romance, but that's only until the last one. If you're just wanting a fantasy series and no romance, I definitely recommend. If you love the romance fantasy type where you only can read fantasy if it has romance, I wouldn't suggest it. Am I glad I read it? Yeah. But with Cruel Prince being the first one, it's really hard to get into because this one's so much world building. I soft DNF'd it a while ago, about a year ago, and then I forced myself to pick it back up because I was excited to read this one because I heard so much hype around it, and I'd say it was worth it. These two do make it worth it. This one, I was pushing through. The series altogether, I would rate about a 3.8. I mean, I would definitely recommend it. In between the Cruel Prince series, I listened to Jennette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I love listening to memoirs / autobiographies, whatever you want to call those, on audiobooks more because I feel like most of the time whoever's reading it is the person who wrote it. At least for Jennette McCurdy, it was her that was reading it, so I felt like you could get her personality through it and you could see her hurt and anger through a lot of things. I don't rate those It was interesting. I'm glad I listened to it because it's just crazy of the things that we didn't see, like so many things that you can't see behind the scenes. I listened to that on audiobook, and then I also listened to Britney Spears, her book, and I'd say the same thing. I do think Jeanette McCurdy's one was definitely more interesting, but again, I think it's because she's reading it and you can feel her emotions compared to the Britney Spears ones. She's not reading it. I don't think she is. I didn't look into that. I probably should have looked into that, but it didn't sound like her. There was some things that I did learn where I'm like, oh, okay, like I didn't know that was a thing. So same thing, don't rate them, but those two were really good to listen to and kind of get something done. The next one that I read was Better Than the Movies. Now this is a reread for me. The first time I read this was probably a little less than a year ago. It was one of my top favorite books of 2023. I reread it, I think we all know the famous quote. This is all over the internet. This is what kind of sold me on this book from the beginning. She's not you. What? She isn't you. Oh my, it got me kicking, screaming, giggling. Made me so giddy inside. I just love these type of books, and Lynn Painter knows exactly how to write young adult books that just kind of bring you back to your high school ages when you had huge crushes, those beginning relationship feelings, the first time kisses. Like, it's just so sweet. Like, just makes you so happy and makes you blush. Like, this is still one of my top faves, and I'm glad that it is. I was worried that I'm like, okay, that was in the beginning of my journey. Maybe I don't like it as much as I thought. I did. I definitely did. Last book that I read was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This is another almost fake dating trope, but not really. It's more of kind of friends, acquaintances to lovers. Bailey and Charlie, they meet at an airport when they're like around freshmen. They're both divorced kids. And when they meet each other, they absolutely hate each other and can't stand each other. Bailey is more nerdy, she keeps to herself, she's odd, and Charlie is the outgoing, sarcastic guy that just like drives you nuts because he won't shut up and just has that certain type of attitude. Somehow just get brought back together every once in a while, more towards their senior years when they actually get brought back together again and they end up working together. You kind of see the way their friendship builds. There was more emotion in this, and this one really does bring you back to like the high school drama where it's like, oh my gosh, like I remember these feelings, like feeling this type of way when I was in high school. If I didn't say, I did rate this a 4.5. But yeah, they're kind of just working as a team throughout this because stuff going on with her family, and he's just kind of helping her out because she needs help because she is so introverted. She needs somebody like him who's has no filter to help her out because she doesn't want to see like her family fall apart. A lot of emotion in this one. There was a few times that Charlie just made me really annoyed and it frustrated me. I like Charlie, but I don't love him like I love Wes. Wes is definition of book boyfriend. He puts all book boyfriends at a top high for like YA. If I would have read this first and then Better Than the Movies, I think I probably would have rated this a 5-star, but I think I just have this stuck in my mind that it was hard to compare. But 4.5 is really good. So yeah. So those are my books that I read in January. I love that I got so many books done for this month. The most that I've read in a month is about 5 books, and that was my plan for this year. I want to read like 5 every month, so I'm a little ahead of schedule, and I'm hoping that this happens every month because I do want to read about this much in a month. I do think the 24-hour video helped get my reading count up. So be on the lookout because I will be doing another one this month. I think I know how to mentally prepare better for it this time because last time I was unwell. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the